Well, we're back from a 2-week break, and once again, the news has been very chill. We asked our crack team of researchers to spend the entire 2 weeks scouring every newspaper in the country, and it turns out nothing's happening. Brings us to our recurring news segment, Everything's Great.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
That's right. It's been a relaxing and normal 2 weeks, and nothing is real. Sorry, was that? Iran suspended peace talks with the U.S. Iran and the U.S. exchanged more fire. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. The president claimed he was near a deal with Iran for the 37th time and told everybody to sit back and relax. All right, well, yeah, that's fine. That's just the Middle East. What's that? A judge said the president can't put his name on the Kennedy Center? The president set up a $1.8 billion slush fund for criminals who stormed the Capitol to overturn the results of an election after he sued his own administration for something that happened while he was president? Oh. What? The Secretary of Health and Human Services wrestled a bunch of snakes like a zombie Jack Hanna? The GOP called the Democratic nominee for Senate in Texas a transgender vegan, even though both are not true. Pam Bondi refused to answer questions from Congress about Donald Trump's name appearing in the Epstein file. The FBI director went on a VIP snorkel event at a Pearl Harbor memorial, which makes sense because his face always looks like it just ran out of air. The president bragged about taking his 4th cognitive test, which just made everyone wonder why his doctors keep making him take cognitive tests. He skipped his own son's wedding because he said he was busy with circumstances pertaining to government, but is also planning on attending the NBA Finals, despite the fact that he's been booed at almost every sporting event he's ever What? Trump wants to cancel his Freedom 250 concerts because artists keep pulling out? The real Milli Vanilli said they won't show up, but the fake Milli Vanilli, he's turning the White House into a rubble pile and fighting-themed amusement park? He's putting his face on a new $250 bill, which will only be used by mobsters and drug dealers? He made 3,700 stock trades, including companies he's publicly promoted, and gave a no-bid contract to change the color of the Lincoln reflector. His White House intervened to get a Pentagon deal for a company connected to his own. He posted a meme of his face on Mount Rushmore where it looks like all the other presidents are trying not to make eye contact. Well, it. I mean, it turns out a ton of stuff happened. I apologize for my initial bounce on it. For more on all this, it's time for a closer look. The president spent the weekend lashing out with more than 60 social media posts over the course of 14 hours, including attacks on judges, political rivals, and the Pope. But let's cut him some slack, okay? He's been under a lot of stress lately after a barrage of legal and political setbacks.
Today, Iranian state media says that Tehran is suspending peace talks with the U.S. President Trump responded to the announcement, telling NBC News that he thinks Iran going silent would be very good, adding, "I think I can wait as long as they want."
In the latest CBS News poll, 66% say they disapproved of Trump's handling of the war in Iran. His overall approval ratings continue to slip, falling to an all-time low of 34%.
President Trump's proposed $1.776 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund is running into trouble on multiple fronts, not only facing resistance from congressional Republicans, but now drawing legal scrutiny as well.
A judge today temporarily halted work on the president's anti-weaponization fund. The order blocks the Trump administration from putting money into or moving money out of a nearly $1.8 billion account being set up by the DOJ with taxpayer dollars.
A federal judge has just ruled that President Trump's name was illegally added to the Kennedy Center and ordered it removed. The judge saying Congress gave the Kennedy Center its name and only Congress can change it.
The lead prosecutor on the case against former FBI Director James Comey has stepped away. This is over his seashell photo allegedly threatening President Trump.
A growing number of artists listed as performers for President Trump's White House-backed celebration of the nation's 250th anniversary are now publicly denying involvement in the event. They include Morris Day and The Time, rapper Young MC, Jody Rocco of Milli Vanilli, country singer Martina McBride, and the Commodores have all either pulled out of the event or said they didn't know that they were involved in the first place.
Imagine how badly things have to be going that the real Milli Vanilli publicly rejected you, and it's not even in the top 10 most embarrassing things to happen to you this week. Maybe Trump could sue his own government and set up a $1 billion compensation fund for everyone who was defrauded by the fake Milli Vanilli, a.k.a. the Milli Vanilli Billy Fund. Can you imagine Trump asking Milli Vanilli to perform at his concert in the first place? A singer came up to me, big singer, strong singer. tears pouring down from his eyes onto his lip-syncing mouth, and he said to me, Mr. Trump, sir, you are the Milli Vanilli of presidents. And I said, girl, you know it's true. So the president's under a lot of stress, you guys. He's under a lot of stress, everything from his negotiations with Iran to his Kennedy Center renaming to his ballroom renovations to his concert series featuring 80s novelty acts is falling apart. His approval ratings are at all-time lows because no one can afford food, housing, healthcare, or gas, not to mention it's almost summer, and I don't think his pool's gonna be ready. What gives, Don? I thought we were gonna go barbecue and go swimming. Yeah, my pool guy me, but he said it'd be done and he me, but you know, if you get hot, just run over there and JD will spray you with the hose. But don't worry, despite all the negatives, the Republican Party remains laser focused on what matters most to working Americans. Joe Biden's brain bad, Trump's brain good.
The left wants to see Trump's tax returns, his medical history, his golf handicap. They want to see cell phone records from House and Senate members, Republicans, that is, not all of them, just Republicans, but not Biden's cognitive condition.
President Trump, who is as sharp as could be, same age as Joe Biden, but his health is in great condition and his mental acuity is as strong as ever, versus Joe Biden, and they were treated differently because of that.
When I saw this segment, I made the same face Joe Biden made in the debate. Also, it's not the flex you think it is to say his mental acuity is stronger than ever versus Joe Biden. Nobody is currently using Joe Biden as the high watermark for mental acuity. Saying someone is sharp versus Joe Biden is like saying someone's good at breakdancing versus Ray Gun. That can be true, and you can also still be bad at breakdancing. Also, you guys stop talking about Joe Biden. It's crazy to even hear his name in 2026. It's like hearing someone mention Boston Legal. But it's not just Fox News. With inflation soaring and the war spiraling and his poll numbers in free fall, the president has been obsessing more than usual in recent weeks over the condition of his brain. Over the weekend, he wrote, "The results of my physical examination taken at Walter Reed Military Medical Center were just released and extremely good, unlike other U.S. presidents, none of whom have ever taken an approved high-difficulty cognitive test. I scored a perfect 30 out of 30, considered extreme intelligence. In fact, this is my fourth such test, all perfect, or 120 correct answers out of 120 questions. It is very rare that anyone gets a perfect score, especially when achieved 4 times in a row." Couple of things. First of all, it's a dementia test, not an IQ test. And as a general rule, if you took a dementia test and you thought it was an IQ test, you failed both the dementia test and the IQ test. Second, extreme intelligence is not a medical term. In general, doctors don't use extreme because they're doctors, not Mountain Dew cans. And lastly, while I get you think it's cool that you're 4 for 4 in dementia tests, it's not a good sign that they keep making you take them. That is a sign that the people who gave you the test don't trust the results. You wouldn't feel good if the cops kept making you take the breathalyzer. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. He's still 0. It's not. He was driving on the shoulder in a golf cart. Make him blow it again. This is the fundamental problem Trump has faced his whole life. He brags about stuff that you wouldn't have to brag about if the thing you were bragging about was actually true. You wouldn't have to constantly insist to people that you're a big brain genius. If you were actually a genius, you wouldn't have to brag about solving 8 wars. If you actually stopped 8 real wars, and you wouldn't have to brag about creating an awesome economy if the economy was actually awesome. If everyone was walking around with affordable health care, cheap groceries, and $2 gas, you could just sit back and spend the day picking drapes from your ballroom and reapplying concealer to your up Frankenstein hand. And no one would give a And also, before you run to the comment section, I'm never gonna say that Trump has a Frankenstein's monster's hand. I'm never gonna do that. If you want to leave that comment in the comment section, leave that comment, but I'm never gonna do that. But you know what, fine. Since this matters so much to the president, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, in fairness, could any mere mortal who wasn't a world historical genius wordsmith come up with a nickname for the Democratic Party as brilliant as this?
A new name I came up with yesterday was a Democrat because I was talking about This guy, I think that could be a good one. You know, I've come up with some extraordinary names. That's why we call them the Democrats. We have a new name. They're Democrats because they're dumb. The Democrats voted against all of that, but we call them Democrats, and it works out well because I take the word dumb, take the B off, because most people don't know that, you know, dumb ends with a B, but most people don't know. And all I do is I switch the E with a U, and you have a Democrat.
Hey, bud, you wanna pop over here for a fifth cognitive test? We think you might ace it again, 5 for 5. You'd be the first guy who ever went 5 for 5. Thank you so much for talking it through with us, step by step. I haven't been this riveted by an explanation since my Aunt Jean talked up her "I'm making a feline toward perfection" t-shirt. They replaced beeline with feline. Not a lot of people know that's another way to say cat. And then you may or may not have noticed they fiddled with the spelling of perfection. Aunt Jean, shut the up. Also, the best part about this is how it's an inadvertent burn on everyone in Trump's orbit. Not only is Trump admitting that he didn't know how to spell the word dumb, he's also implying it was news to everyone around him as well. I was talking to Margot and JD, and I told them, gentlemen, prepare to have your mind blown. Dumb ends with a B. You should have seen their faces. It was like they were both thinking, dear God, what have I done with my life? This isn't even the first time Trump has claimed that he just noticed the spelling of a one-syllable word and thought his observation made him a generational intellect.
Drug traffic coming into our country is way down, and by ocean, by the water, you know, a lot of people say, what do you mean by sea? Is it sea, like vision? No, it's the SEA. But it's down 97%. You know how you spell us, right? You spell us, U.S. I just picked that up. Has anyone ever thought of that? I just picked that up.
If you just learned that C is spelled S-E-A and that us is spelled U-S, then you are dumb, spelled D-U-M. You don't even deserve the B. In some ways, I have to admit, I'm envious of Trump. I wish I could be as confident about anything as Trump is about spelling one-syllable words. Can you imagine this dude in a spelling bee?
Balintawak.
B-L-I-N-T-A-W-A-K.
Tesseraconter.
T-S-S-A-R-A-C-O-N-T-E-R.
Toracatapsia.
T-A-U-R-O-K, T-H-A-P-S-I-A.
You spell us, U.S. I just picked that up.
The president is using his office to enrich himself and his family, put his face on monuments and money, and set up a slush fund for his criminal supporters, all while waging a disastrous war that has made life harder and more expensive for working Americans. There are lots of words you could use to describe it. Corrupt, incompetent, amoral. But at the end of the day, there's only one word that works best, and that's
the word dumb.
That is the word, and this has been A Closer Look.